friends, welcome to Koala Knits and Knacks. This is Shelley, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this reversible beanie. Isn't it just like so pretty? I used Red Heart Comfort yarn in gray marl. That's the top color. And then there's Craft Smart yarn in gray and charcoal. So those are the three colors I used. You can pick whatever colors you like. I used my Addi King, but you can also use your Sentro 48. And we're doing a duplicate stitching on the top of one side, just along the border there of the two colors. So once you get your supplies, join me and let's get started. Okay, it's time to start. I'm going to start with a long tail cast on, and I'm going to use Red Heart, Red Heart Comfort in gray marl. I love this color. It makes a beautiful scarf, by the way. Just use this color by itself and make a scarf, and it's just gorgeous. Okay, so we're gonna bring our last white key and our first black needle, key needle, whatever you call them, in line with our yarn feeder here. And I'm gonna go behind that first black for my long tail cast on, in front of the next black, behind and in front, all the way around. Okay, when I get halfway around or partway around, I set my counter to 0. That way I know it's ready to begin once I get to the start, because I like to know what row I'm working on rather than what row I'm finished. So when it clicks on 1, I know I'm working on row 1. Okay, so we've got behind the last white, open our yarn feeder, put it inside of there. And we are going to do 50 rows of this color. Okay, this is going to be the inside of my beanie. I'm going to do the first couple of rows slowly so I can make sure that this yarn catches underneath every needle. Sometimes if you're going to drop a stitch at the very beginning, sometimes it's because, or get a tucked stitch I should say, sometimes it's because, just one second, I got a knot in my yarn. It's because this little, when it's really short here, sometimes it just doesn't go down far enough. So it doesn't have enough weight on it to pull this down far enough and keep this little loop over those red teeth. So the first few rows often are the rows that I will drop a stitch on, or are often the rows I will get a tucked stitch on, because there's no weight that's on this little end here. Which makes sense because there's not enough rows there for weight. So I like to go at a slower pace for the first few rows, just to make sure that it's all grabbing. And then sometimes I'll just go around if it looks like it's loose. I'll just go around and just pull it down a little bit. Okay, it looks like we got a good start on this one. Okay, and I'm going to go around until I get to 50 rows. I can tell this ball's going to have some little knots and stuff in the middle. I can just tell by the beginning already. So I'm going to probably fight with it for just a little bit, but that's okay. We'll make it work. But generally this particular yarn works really well in my machine. Okay, so here we go. So keep going around until you get to row 50 and then see me back. All right, so I just finished row 50. I cut off my working yarn end. I'm going to put it in between that last white and the first black. Then I'm going to grab my next color, which is Craft Smart Value yarn in the color charcoal. I'm just going to take some out of the ball here because it's a brand new ball. In the color charcoal, and I'm going to put that in my yarn feeder in between those last 2 needles. I'm going to work 4 needles. Then I'm going to take both ends of my working yarn and watch this piece right there. And I'm going to pull that, and sometimes you have to help it down. And I'm going to just make sure that those first few stitches are snug, because I want to make sure that the tension on the first few stitches of that row is the same as the tension the rest of the way around. Okay, so I'm going to cut this off because I don't like long ends. And so for my cuff, I'm going to do 40 colors of this charcoal color. Okay, now this color is a little bit coarser and a little bit thicker than, it is a 4-weight yarn, but it feels thicker than some colors. So I'm going to go around slowly for the first few rows, because sometimes this coarser feeling yarn, which softens up after you get it all worked and stretched out and stuff, but the needles have a hard time grabbing it below, in between that one that's over the 2 teeth, and sometimes you'll get a tucked stitch. So I want to go slow at first. till I know it's connecting, and then I'm going to go a little faster, and I'm going to do 40 rows of this charcoal color, and I did not reset my counter. I'm going to go until it hits row 90, and then I'm going to finish row 90. Okay, so you go ahead and change it to your brim color, your second color, and do 40 rows of that, and see me back when you get to row 90. Now, you can see that my work is almost touching the table. I got to really help this ball out. It's pretty tight. Is almost touching the table. So I'm going to do a few more rows. Let me just see here. I think I could probably start. And I'm going to just pick it up and I'm going to roll it into a donut. And by rolling it into a donut, it keeps it from bunching. When it bunches at the top here, that's when you get a tucked stitch. I have one right here, so I have to fix this one. I show you how to do that on one of my videos, how to fix a tucked stitch. I have one there and I have one there. So look at that, and one there. So I missed it as it was coming around the second round when I went a little bit faster. So I'm gonna fix those tucked stitches, but I'm gonna do it off camera this time. Sometimes I do it on camera while I'm doing my project. Sometimes I do it off, but I do have a video on that. So I am going to go ahead and fix those. And then with this particular yarn, I'm going to have to, once I get about 20 rows done or so, I'm going to come back on and show you what I'm doing so that it doesn't tuck. Okay. All right. So see me back in about 20 rows. Okay, so I'm on row 75, but this is what I had to do. I have to roll this up, and then I have to put my hand just to the left of the feeder, and as the needles pass by, I'm gonna move it with my hand, and I'm just putting some pressure on this so that those little loops stay over those red teeth as the needle picks up the yarn and puts it through, okay? So it's not hard to do, it just means you have to go slower, okay? But I'm gonna do that all the way because it doesn't like this yarn, it's a little too coarse. I'm gonna do that all the way until I get finished row 90. Okay, so I thought I'd pop on. I'm on almost there. I'm clicking on 78 now. It goes actually pretty fast. I wouldn't want to do a whole scarf 300 rows like this, but to do 40 rows of a brim, it's not a problem at all. Okay, so go ahead and finish, and I'll see you when you get to row 90. All right, so I'm at row 90, and I finished row 90, so I cut off my working yarn. I'm going to put it in between the last white, the first black, and then I'm going to take my third color, which is my light gray. This is Craft Smart yarn in, let's just see, is it actually called light gray? Yes, it's called light gray. And we're going to do 32 rows of this. So I'm going to pinch both of those, do 4 needles. Then I take both ends of my working yarn and I give it a little tug so that slips down underneath. Help it down if you need to. Then tie a tight knot in those two. Okay, and then I'm going to snip these off too so they're not quite so long. I don't need them to be that long. I always cut them off to about 2 inches or so. And now we're going to do 32 rows of our light color, okay? And I'm going to help it around until I can get I think the light one will go fine. It feels softer. It's not as coarse as that dark gray one, but I'm going to make sure it goes into those dark gray loops. Maybe I'll do it one more. Oh, and then I'm good. Okay, and I'm going to do 32 rows of this, and I'll stop when I get to row 122. Okay, so 90 plus 32 is 122. I think this one's going to go with no problem. Okay, so keep going with that color until you get to row 122, finish row 122, and then see me back. All right, so we finished that. I just finished row 122. So I cut off my working yarn, opening my yarn feeder. I'm gonna put that tail in between my last white, my first black. Then I'm gonna grab color A, the one that you started with, that's your inside color. You're going to use that now. And I'm going to open my yarn guide. Well, it's open. I'm gonna put that inside and insert it between my last white, my first black. We'll continue on doing 4 needles. Then I take both ends of that working yarn and I snug it all up nice and tight. Give this a good tie, cut it off, and we're going to do 18 rows of this color. Okay, so 18 rows of this last color will take us to row 140, and we will be finished our beanie, yay, and then we'll put it together. Okay, so keep going around until you get to row 40. Oh, got another knot in this big ball of yarn has lots of little knots as you're pulling the yarn out. But luckily they're not all so tight that you can't loosen them quite easily, so that's great. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going around. I'm gonna do 18 rows of this marl, gray marl color until I get to row 140, and then I'm going to complete row 140, and we'll get back together and we'll do a long tail cast off, okay? So keep going and see me back when you get to row 140. Okay, so I can see my black marked peg coming around, and I take a black permanent marker and I mark the red divider that's between the last white and the first black. So I see it coming around, I'm gonna keep going, that's row 140. And when I see it coming back, I'm gonna stop. There we go. So I knew it was coming around, I saw it, so I'm going to put it, line this all up. I'm going to cut off about a foot tail on my yarn, grab my little needle here. Which one do I want? Let's take this one, okay? Grab my needle, I'm going to open my yarn feeder, take out the yarn, make sure it goes between that last white and the first black. I'm going to thread my needle. And we are going to do a long tail cast off, okay? I like to put the excess in the middle there. All right, so I'm gonna just move this camera a little bit because it was a little bit too far up, and you'll see that I had rolled everything into a donut, and I keep doing that and I make it tight all along. After about row 55 or 60, then I start rolling, and then every 10 rows or so I keep rolling. And that donut makes your tension even around your barrel as you're knitting, so it's very important to do that, okay? So I'm going to rotate my barrel, take off the first one there, then the second one. I'm gonna rotate it again. Now, if you do a few at a time like that, put your finger on the one that's to the left of the needle that you're taking off if you're not used to the feel, okay? So for me, I'm just gonna go like this. Because if it comes off those two little red needles and not onto your needle, like this one just barely made it on because I stretched it too far, then you will drop a stitch, okay? You can fix that. I have a video on my channel. If you drop a stitch and it starts to unravel, then I'll show you how to fix that. But otherwise, just take them off, grab them with your thumb on your needle, and then you pull it through, and we go around till we get them all loose, all off. I don't like to do loosen all the needles on it. You can rotate this one full turn and have them all exposed. I don't like doing that personally. If you do that, then good on you. Then you're a little bit more skilled than I am in that area, because I'm afraid that I'm going to drop one, and I don't want to. So I just do it like this till I get enough on my needle that I feel I can put it through. Okay, and you keep going until you've taken all of your stitches off your machine. And one more. Okay, then you pull it through. Oop, almost lost that one. And there you go, you've got your donut off your machine. I'm gonna move my machine off of my table here, and then we'll see you back and we'll assemble it. Once we have it off the machine, we have our little donut here. We're going to unravel it so that the right side is up, is out, okay? And then what I do is I start at one end, doesn't matter what end, and I just slightly stretch it, okay? It's amazing how much softer it gets once you do that. This would make a beautiful scarf, these color combinations together, okay? And then I stretch it lengthwise. Softens the whole thing up and lines up your stitches a little bit better than they are. I've got a little bit of loose stitching there, but that's okay. We'll maybe try to get that one on the inside. Okay, then I'm gonna go to take one side, doesn't matter which side. So I'm gonna take this inside part because I know that that solid panel here is my inside. I'm going to take that, roll up the edges just a little bit. I find if I stick my hand in there and do it, it makes a difference, it helps. Okay, then I'm going to continue pulling on it, making sure that it's all rolled up because you don't want it folding inside itself. You want it nice and smooth. Okay, then I'm going to cut this long tail off So it's more manageable. Get that out of the way. Take my smaller needle. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is just sew around this closing just to reinforce it, okay? So if you fold it up just a little bit like that, you can see all the stitches along that rim there. I'm gonna pick up as many as I can, then unfold that side, pick up as many as I can, give it a little snug, then continue around, and I'm gonna go around twice, okay? So I'm picking up that top layer of stitches, then you give it a little snug, and you continue around, smoothing out so that you can see those stitches, so you can see them all beautifully around there. Then you're gonna go underneath. I think I picked up half a row that time, so that's kind of nice. And then I'm going to, oops, let me get this back on the table. And I'm gonna pull that. Don't pull so hard, too hard that you break it, because trust me, it breaks quite easily. Which is why I like to reinforce it, because if it breaks for us when we're pulling on it, then lots of wear and tear and stuff. You don't want it to break and then their hat's ruined. So go around 2 or 3 times. I think I've done it twice now, but I'm gonna just, feels like I need to do it again, so I'm gonna just do it again. Come on. Okay, so once you get that completed, you're gonna take it and make a little knot. Just grab a couple strands there underneath so that you can knot it, and then pull on that, and then do it one more time. And then you're going to put your hand up through the other end, up to the top there. You're gonna take that needle, you're gonna insert it into the very center. And then you're gonna pull it through with your hand, and you're gonna cover the point of that needle with your hand so that you don't snag the inside, okay? And then you're gonna pull it so that knot goes through. Then you're gonna pinch the top and pull it halfway through pull it all the way through until the other end. So your beanie will now be in half, okay? So you're going to take that yarn end out and release it from your needle. You're gonna take the other one and you're gonna close it up just exactly the same way, making sure this yarn end tail stays outside, okay? So you're gonna close this just the exact same way as you close the other end. And I'm gonna do that off camera just so it doesn't take up so much time on the video here. I'm gonna close it up and circle around 3 times just like I did with the other end, and then I'll see you back. Tilt this camera just a little bit. There we go. All right, so I've got it all finished off on this side. Then I'm going to take both of these yarn ends and I'm going to tie a knot so that I could feel the inside one coming up snug to the top one, okay? I'm gonna tie maybe 3 knots is my typical. Okay, then I'm gonna go on the inside again with one hand and on the outside with the other, and then I just usually just, I'm grasping a hold of the one on the inside and the one on the outside with my other hand, and if they're not snug up against each other, then I will insert both of these back into the inside and tie them again, but they're really good, so they're really snug. So I'm going to now take both of these yarn ends, put them on my needle. I'm gonna put my hand up in through there, and I'm gonna just hide these. Could have used a smaller needle, circumference needle, but that's okay, we'll make this work. All right, so it's up in there. Take it out. Cut those off. Get that yarn end on the inside, and then I'm gonna put my hands right into this hat, right into the middle of the beanie, and I'm going to just rotate it and stretch it and get it all nice and snug, okay? Okay, so I took a screenshot of both sides of the beanie so you can see. The lighting isn't perfect, but you'll get the idea. The first one is the 3 colors that are showing, and we're gonna do the duplicate stitch on that side. This is really the right side for this hat, what I consider the right side. However, the inside is also a wearable side. It's the right side as well. So it's a reversible beanie that is just very versatile, but we're gonna do the duplicate stitch on the side where there are the 3 color options that are there, okay? So grab your needle with your yarn that is the same color as your brim, and let's get started on it, okay? If you are new to duplicate stitch or are intimidated by it in any way, this is the pattern for you, because it's a basic stitch, it's a basic pattern, and you'll be able to get it with no problem. All right, so once you're ready, let's get started. All right, so I'm going to do a duplicate stitch. We're going to do it right where the color changes here. Now, if you were doing, this is a color blocked beanie like this, but if you were to do, like if you really wanted to see the nice color difference, you would choose three contrasting colors. These two are really close together, so the blocking is kind of hard to see, but I like those two colors together. I like how it graduates from solid to flecked. And so what we're gonna do is we're going to thread our needle with our ribbed color, with the dark charcoal. We're gonna come up on the side here, and we're gonna come up into the stitch we're going to duplicate the first gray stitch in the solid row, okay? So I'm coming up into this section right here because I want to duplicate this stitch. And then the next one up is the marble pattern. So if I'm going to duplicate this stitch, I'm going to skip it and I'm going to go up to the next one. And I have a video on how to do the duplicate stitch. So you can look that up too and see it in more detail. And I'm going to duplicate that, come back down into that same spot, but then I'm going to choose the next row. So we want the stitches that the V's are wide going up, where the V part is wide. So I'm going to go into here and I'm going to, instead of going over to this one and duplicating the stitch beside, I'm going to go up one. Okay. And then I'm going to duplicate the stitch that's in the one row above. Okay. And I'm going to snagged that one. Oh well, it's okay. That always has to happen, doesn't it? And I'm going to duplicate that stitch there, but it's okay because I'm duplicating it, so we're good. Then I'm going to go down to this next one. So every second one is the row below, and I'm going to duplicate the gray one. Just like that. Okay? Then I'm going to go into the point where I came out, and I'm going to go up into the one that's to the left, but up one row. Okay, so I've duplicated that stitch. Now this is the one I'm going to duplicate, so I'm going to miss it, and I'm going to go to the one right above it. Come back in that point, and come down. Just like that. And you see the zigzag pattern that's happening? It's going to go from up, or this stitch, then up one, this stitch, up one, up and down, up and down, up and down, all the way around. So go ahead and complete that all the way around and then see me when you're finished. All right, so I finished going around, but I never finished off with you. I actually got going on it, and then I just finished it off thinking, oh, and then once I tied it off all my ends, I thought, oh shoot, I forgot to record that. So I'm just going to show you what I do here. And you know, I explained it in my duplicate stitch video anyway. So where I came in, so let's just say this is the stitch that I came in, or this is the area that I came in, and then I went up and I did my duplicate stitch. When I'm finished my last stitch, I come down. Let's say that this is the point of my last stitch. I come down and then I bring my end up so that there is one little bar, see that little bar? In between the two strands. And then I tie them off and then I hide them inside. And the reason why I do that is because then if I didn't have that bar in the middle there and I just tied it off, then this is free floating on the inside there, and then whichever one of these tails, or if this was my last stitch right here, then if the yarn ends are loose in there, then this could become loose and then it's going to wreck your whole design. So that's why you have to make sure there's a bar in there and then tie a knot and then hide it. Okay, so that's all I did. And if you need to see that in its fullness, then go to my channel and look up the video on duplicate stitching, and I'll show you how to do that. But I absolutely love that. I think it's just so pretty. And you know what? Because these colors were so close in together, it separates them. It puts a divide there. So I love that too. So you can choose to leave it off if you just want a color blocked beanie without the embellishment there as well, or you can go ahead and finish it off with a duplicate stitch. There we go. And then if you turn it inside out, of course you don't see it because you're going only through one layer when you do your duplicate stitch. So this beanie is in fact reversible, okay? And then I'm going to put a pom-pom on there with my little do-it-yourself pom-pom holders. You can find that on my channel as well. I love them. I think they're awesome. They're clear, and you can use them with any color beanie that you have. So go ahead and look that up if that is of interest to you. And there you go. Thank you so much for joining me in this tutorial. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed making yourself essentially a color blocked beanie with duplicate stitch. And there you have it. I wish I could see again. I say this in almost every video, but it's true. I wish I could see all the colors that that you are making and the creations that you're having. So if you're on any Facebook knitting groups, then go ahead and post them so that we can see them, because they really are beautiful, and I'd love to see the different color variations. Okay, so there you have it. Take care, my friends. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you would do so. Take care and have a wonderful day. Happy knitting.